We're live.
All right, perfect. Well, seeing that we have a quorum and we are broadcasting, I will go ahead and call this meeting to order at 5:41 p.m. And before we adopt our agenda, what I would like to propose is, because we have some folks here from Agenda Global to give us a presentation today about additional marketing efforts we might want to undertake. So I would say, since they're here and ready to go, perhaps we can move the new business item A, at least the discussion part of it, up in the agenda, let them do their presentation, and then we can let them go so they don't have to sit through our whole meeting. And then we can talk about if we want to take action on it tonight, we can do that later, where we normally follow the agenda. Does anybody have any objection to that?
Nope.
All right. Well, then I would say let's go ahead and move that up to between the current item 5 and 6, so between comments from council members and head administrator report. If that's okay with you.
Sure.
Yeah, so with that amendment, can I have a motion to adopt the amended agenda?
I move to adopt the amended agenda.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? Okay, I think we're gonna have to do roll call vote since we have at least one person here. So all in favor, Dominic?
Aye.
Fabian?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
And Aaron? Aye, motion carries. All right. Now, let's go ahead and go to the approval of the summarized minutes. My understanding is we have 4 separate minutes to approve today. So let's start with the June 15 and 16 special meeting minutes.
And Dom, I might need your help here. I know I got 3 of 4.
Which ones? So okay, you've got 617, 620, and 6 and 7, 8. So you need 15.
Yeah.
Okay, let me send those over. You can pull up the other ones while I get those emailed to you.
Okay. I'll start with 617.
The only thing I wondered about is at the very top when it was talking about approval of the minutes, I think it said just May minutes. Do we need an actual date on that? Summary of the, oh yeah, sorry, it's in the second paragraph. It just says May 2026, and I didn't catch the up above one. So I think it's probably fine.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve the June 17, 2026 minutes?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, Dominic?
Aye.
Fabian?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Aaron, aye, motion carries.
Do the other ones, then I'll get back to the one that Dom just sent me. So here's June 25th.
All right. That was easy.
Mhm.
And I have a motion to approve the June 25th, 2026 special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second,
All in favor? Dominic,
Aye.
Fabian,
aye.
Pat, aye. Aaron, aye. Motion carries.
Now, July 8th.
Danielle, you weren't at that meeting?
On the 8th I was.
I don't see you there, but you were there?
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Who was, we're talking about a staff attendance or someone of the board members? Sorry, I couldn't hear very well.
Danielle. Danielle was present.
Oh, okay, okay.
Last name is Groeling, Groeling.
Too many vowels, I always misspell it. Anything with too many vowels and I can't do it. Convenience, forget about it. All right, seeing that, can I have a motion to approve the July 8th, 2026 special meeting minutes?
I'll move to approve as amended.
Can I get a second?
Second,
All in favor? Dominic,
Aye.
Fabian,
aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Aaron, aye. Motion passes.
Let me wrangle the other one.
Nice. And then it's actually two, right? 15 and 16?
I think I only sent you the 15. Let me send you the 16 right now too.
Okay. All right, here's the 15.
All right, can I have a motion to approve the June 15, 2026 special meeting minutes?
So moved.
And can I get a second?
Second,
All right, is there any discussion? All in favor, Dominic,
Aye.
Vivian,
aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Aaron, aye. Motion carries. And last but not least,
Now the 16th.
okay, stop there, let me read. All right, thank you. All right,
Can
do
you
we,
scroll back up to page 1 really quickly? Okay, thank you.
We have a motion to approve the June 16, 2026 special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor? Dominic?
Aye. Aye.
Vivian?
aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Aaron? Aye. Motion carries. All right, I think we've got all our minutes approved. Public comments. Let me just check and make sure I haven't got any sign up until this point. And I don't see any sign up to speak. So no public comments. Let's go ahead and move on to comments from council members. Do we have any comments from council members? Fine. I don't think I have anything to add that won't get added at some point this meeting. So why don't we go ahead and move right into our presentation for Agenda Club. Welcome.
Thank you for having us. So I'm Becky Copa. I'm from Agenda Public Affairs firm in Albuquerque. With me, I have my coworker Leandra Garcia and one of our vice presidents, Nick Parker. So I did most of the day-to-day work on like the written side. And then Leandra did a lot of the ad campaign work. So there's a lot of information on the PowerPoint, but I'll just go over things, and if you have questions, like, feel free to ask.
Yeah,
So,
I'll just say, one of the reasons she put so much on there is that, so that when we leave, and you have questions, you can go back and sort of review this material. So it's not like a typical slick presentation in that regard, so please go ahead.
Thank you.
And please interrupt us, as I just interrupted her.
before this meeting, we've had meetings with Christy, and then I forget.
And then Danielle.
And I do recognize some people here. But a couple months ago, we did come to the school and we had a bigger brainstorming session. I'll touch on that later. But hopefully, if you've seen any of us before, you remember us.
Mhm.
So, the goal of this presentation is about like continued communication support and how that can help the school with enrollment and messaging and help you guys stand out in the competitive charter school and public school climate. All right, I'll hit the next slide. So the work that we did with Alice King, it started off with a lot of research and seeing what kind of school this is and what separates this school from other schools. Things I was interested to learn was about the whole child concept. And then there was also interesting trivia, like the 4-day week where there's the home study on Friday. And then the emphasis on extracurriculars and clubs. So, we go to the next slide. Yeah, this will be easier. Okay, so we did our initial communication review in like 2 phases, and 1, 2, and 3 up on the slide was part of like the first phase of discovery, and then 4 was the advertising campaign. So I started off first with a communications audit, and I reviewed the website and social media channels, and I tried to see if there was consistent messaging, any calls to actions, what separates the school, like what knowledge is placed on different areas of the page. And I crafted like a deep dive, breaking all of that down, and then gave recommendations. The strategic communications plan, it kind of like takes the research and builds a framework into a messaging structure and like what stakeholders are and how, there should be communication between those. And then content strategy, it's so like if the communication plan is more strategic, content strategy is like tactical. And for example, there would be a social media calendar where there'd be recommendations for how many student profiles you should do, what should like some hashtags or call to actions be, and then making sure that like the core pillars, they're being like spread out evenly and being touched on evenly. And the numbers at the bottom, I do have, so I admit I used a template, like, so anytime I do a percent, I use templates. So those numbers at the bottom, I am so sorry, but I could, give you the real numbers of the ad, so I'm sorry about that. But Vander will go deeper into the advertising campaign, but advertising campaign is, we understand that there's an enrollment versus funding correlation, that there's targets of students, like numbers, and not just getting those numbers, but there's a grade spread. You need younger students versus older students, what would be more strategic? Obviously, if you get younger students, there's a higher chance that they'll go through all the 8 years. But if you get someone when they're in 7th grade, well, guess what? They're gonna be gone in 2 years. So, the next slide. So these are the ones I'll just like briefly go over because I explained them kind of in the step to step. So in the communications audit, this is where I reviewed anything that is public facing, the website, social media. And some findings that I had was, I understand that Alice King has a whole child model, but over the years, that's come to mean a bunch of different things. For instance, we do work for another charter school and they have a very interesting curriculum. Like the teachers are called learners and their schedule is like very like individualized, and it's known as like the delinquent school, like where a lot of kids, this is like up in Santa Fe. So we found that the whole child model through the website, it wasn't really conveyed in a way that would make a reader be like, aha, that really appeals to me. There is a lot of emphasis on student activities, but parents are forward thinking, and we can like roll those into, okay, these activities at Alice King prepare the student for, and then whatever in the future. And then I guess this is like the biggest issue is, so there is enrollment information, but on the website and on social media, there isn't a very obvious call to action, like apply now or enroll here or for more information. A banner across the top of the website is one way of grabbing people's attention, or having enrollment stuff in the pictures with like news events or something that if someone's gonna search in the search engine and then find your website, that enrollment message is always going to be there. So I'll move on to the next slide. So the strategic communication plan takes the information that I gained from the communications audit, and it comes up with like goals and objectives and pillars. So strategic communication plan, it'll have like a bunch of different sections, like objectives, what's the school trying to achieve, who are their stakeholders, how do those stakeholders get their information, what's important, like what are the messages you want to get across. So it's kind of taking the research and then building it out into like better ways of communicating and the most effective communications. So I'll do the next slide. And content strategy. So these all go hand in hand, but content strategy, just as the communication is more strategizing what you're going to do with the information gleaned from the communications audit, the content strategy is like a recipe for what you should do. It'll have themes or like posting schedules or certain time-based goals, like at this amount of time we want to do this, these are our priorities. So those are all part of like this big communications framework that I provided. And that is the quote phase 1 that we did. So if you go to the next slide, the second phase was ad campaign, and I'm gonna hand things over to Leandra.
Yeah, so we ran a 2-month digital
ad campaign, that was just supposed to bring in awareness and potentially bring in new students. And what we got out of that campaign was we converted 458 people for sure to the website. And what we found after that was they spent about 30 seconds on the homepage and then left the page. So whenever we looked at the page from that perspective, the website's very geared at current students and not new students. So I think that's kind of one of the shifts that she's talking about. But I think that the best way to move forward with this would be to do continual campaigns for awareness throughout the year. Just so people are aware of you guys, we are continuing to get students, basically, we're not just targeting anybody in Albuquerque, we're targeting people who have looked up charter school before, people who have students in this age range, people who live around big communities that have a lot of students, just anybody who's interacting with parents or students on a daily basis in the immediate vicinity. So I think continuing to show up on these people's, phones, social media, billboards, radio, I really think that a larger ad campaign could really shift the position of the school.
Yeah, and I'll just say, I was sort of interviewing them earlier today, asking about some of this, and it's, they were successful in converting those sort of target audience members to actually do the action of going to the website to seek the information. So we know that the ad dollars, in a sense, work in terms of moving people. What we need to do is make sure that when they get to that landing page, that we're delivering the information, the messaging, or even as Leandra and Becky described, the sort of the click here portal that says, yes, oh, there's spaces in your school. Oh, yes, my child could go there. Oh, because, I'm a parent and I can tell you, in the past looking at some of this stuff, we recognize that, there are, lotteries to get into these schools, and oh, I missed the deadline and all of this other stuff. So making sure that that sort of neon opportunity light is flashing, I think is probably really a low-hanging fruit opportunity. So we know the ads work. We know people are willing to click through. You just need to, in a sense, drop a few more breadcrumbs to make sure that they recognize that, yes, sign up here.
Because I think in the past, charter schools had a reputation of these lotteries are
Yes.
hard to get into. And so it's something as simple as spots available.
Yeah, I mean, my kid went 100 years ago to Montessori to Rio Grande, and it was like it was a true lottery in the sense it was crazy how many parents were there and filling out stuff, and it was,
Fighting for a few
anxiety,
spots.
it's anxiety provoking, and you just are really kind of freaked out as a parent. So knowing that there's this opportunity, and knowing that even though the year, in your case, you've already started, but knowing that in a sense, this is an option. And I think options are one of those things that parents just really want to feel like, oh, I've got some power in this game, and it's not just up to a black ball and whatever. So, I'll send it back to you, but that's just important from my perspective to make sure you understand it's working. We just need to sort of fill in those gaps.
Yeah, and I do think that a really good strategy we could use is the accessibility. I mean, even me, I went to San Bernardino, I went to public school. I thought charter schools were private schools. I thought people were paying to be here. And so I kind of asked, the people in my life who also have no idea, and not one person knew that it was like a lottery-free school. So I think just, even if we, have an ad campaign, and maybe we have a really small ad campaign separately that's paid for by you guys and it's promoted by you guys, and it's kind of just educating people on charter schools, and whenever you click that, it'll take it to your page. I think just educating people, even just through social media, organically, do free posts, I just think it's important. And there is an audience that we are missing out on because they're not educated on charter schools.
Yeah, you know this because you live here, but this isn't a school where people are driving by, right? You're not driving to work and say, check out that school, right? You're off the beaten path, which is a blessing in many other ways. But so you're missing that sort of that, in a sense, free commuter advertising. So, I was asking these guys earlier today, like, would we think about doing a billboard? Would we, some really conventional stuff, Please go ahead.
To kind of add to what you're saying there, a question I had for you on ad campaigns, which I have not been able to solve, and I've asked myself and haven't been able to do anything with this. You have a high traffic area over here where folks who work on the Air Force Base.
Yes.
And wondering if you looked into that as part of potential ad campaign type thing.
Yeah, good question.
We did geofence the base, so anyone who fits the demographics of the audience I already mentioned, and enters the base, get ads as soon as they cross that threshold of the gate. But I do think that we are missing targeting on people who don't live on the base and live in external communities. I think doing some research on that would be really helpful. But I do think that targeting other billboards on the way to the base would also be smart, like for people who live in different communities coming from other directions, because it's near.
Yeah, and I asked that because a few of us on the board, we work on base. And like this was a huge plus for us as folks who work nearby. And it's the perk of having a school so close to where we work is as outstanding of a school as this is pretty amazing. And I've been wondering about like how much more potential is with all the people who drive into and out of the base every day.
Yeah, and these guys, Andrew can describe it better than I can, but she mentioned the term, geo-targeting, and maybe you know what it means, but basically, your mobile phone is they got you.
Yeah.
The minute you're so.
For sure.
It gets pretty crazy. I mean, you can say like, I want to target everyone who's bought a frozen pizza at Smith's. It's about in the last month, and I want to send them ads for my frozen pizza. Like it can get very specific. But I do think that like really looking into the military aspect and looking into very niche things is really going to be helpful. So like, after this, we decided to continue in the future. I do think that like having brainstorm sessions with you guys, that's so helpful.
Cool.
Yeah, and you were thinking about doing, because we did digital in the past campaign, but you were talking about also sort of expanding it to social and some of that other stuff. Maybe explain why that might also be.
Yeah, so we just did the digital, which is just the ads that appear on websites and apps and stuff that is not social media. I would like to do a campaign that integrates kind of everything. So we would have digital, social, and then maybe some outdoor like radio or billboards. But that's kind of works in tandem. Like, people see the digital. How often are you clicking on a digital ad? Maybe not as frequently as you're clicking on a social ad. So you see the digital ad, maybe it piques your curiosity. You see it again on social media, and then you're like, okay, maybe. And then you drive past the billboard, and when you see the ad next time, you're like, okay, just what is this? And then you're clicking. And it kind of just has to like, overwhelm people a little bit enough to where they have to get that curiosity. But there is also like limits. You won't see the ad more than a certain amount of times a month. So 7 times a month is what we had the previous one on, because that is after the 7 times someone sees something, that is whenever they decide to take action. So they got 7 times a month for the first month, and then the second month we had them see it another 7 times, and most of them took action on about the 9th time that they saw it. So once we kind of get all that data together, we will really have an informed campaign for the second one based off of what we've already done.
But yeah, in terms of your base stuff too, I'm old enough to still like look at a billboard. So to me, I like the idea of there being some traffic on Gibson or some of these other roads. It'd be like, to your point, oh my God, there's an amazing school right there. And by the way, now I don't have to drive back across the river to get my kid and do the running around. Like that's a compelling, every parent has a compelling narrative to every parent.
So the next slide, it has more like a breakdown of how you start off with a lot of people that see the ad, then the amount that will, let me explain, it's then put to the homepage.
It just kind of shows how people really get distracted from that initial click through, and how, out of 3,400, only 8 people submitted.
Yeah, you're moving from a shotgun to a sniper rifle, and the idea is you have to put that spray out there to get the bigger message. And of course, there may also be people that are not direct targets. Grandparents, for example, are not going to be a direct target, but they're going to talk to their kids or talk to the grandkids. So there's all these other sort of secondary or tertiary, let's call them influencers, that might also be worth thinking about target. And to Leandra's point, the only other time I was here was for that brainstorming session or for the brainstorming session. And it is super helpful to get feedback from you guys, because it's not like we're living in it every day. So all of those types of things would be part of what we would expect, you know, if we move forward with another sort of phase of this.
So as the numbers
So-
drop down, sorry.
Oh, please, Tom.
Yeah, just a quick question. When you said form submissions, was that form as in they're on the website and filled out like a lottery application, or what's a form submission in this
So-
diagram?
So according to the data that we got, we don't know. It was just any form. We got the back end of your guys' website data and it just said 8 form submissions, but it didn't give what specific form they filled out.
We also have the asterisk, I forgot to elaborate on that, but yeah, it was unknown.
But with the different numbers and how they're decreasing throughout that likely shows that either they got distracted and left the page or they weren't finding what they were looking for. And I think that was one of my biggest points on the website was it wasn't maneuverable unless you were specifically looking for something like, and you knew exactly what you were looking for. If you were looking for general information that was kind of trying to entice you about your child, it was harder to find.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, or both of your points, you know, the website being targeted toward existing parents and students makes sense, but there needs to be that sort of recruitment piece there front and center so that a potential parent or a potential student is, you know, has a clear path to that information. And then ultimately, it also sounds like, I'm no web expert, but it would be great if, for example, the seeking more information forms or whatever those forms are that would lead to direct recruitment could be segregated in a way that you would know immediately from the data that these are these very specific forms, and we know that this is driving those people to those forms versus just having, I don't know how many forms there are, but just having them sort of all grouped together means that we can't drill into the data to understand what in fact they're filling out. So just a thought.
Is that kind of like a back end website?
Oh, yeah, that's back end
Yeah.
website stuff, so yeah,
Okay.
that's my area of expertise, but thinking about, I mean, part of what you always want to be thinking about is like, what do you know, we have the primary objectives of driving engagement and ultimately getting more kids to enroll in the school to reach your target number. But there are, you know, there are all these other sort of things that feed into the data that help us, I guess, be smarter at analyzing what's working and what's not working. And so, like, you know, if you were Coca-Cola, you'd be doing focus groups, right? Spending piles of money, understanding exactly what it is that's driving me to pick a Coke versus a Pepsi. You're not going to spend that kind of money, and it's not money probably well spent. But understanding, and I think we talked about this the day that I was here before, but really finding some of those parents, for example, recently recruited parents. What was it? What were the sort of, again, those breadcrumbs, like what resonated? And then we figure out how to maximize that benefit through that messaging. But, you know, again, I would be turned off as a parent if I went to a website and I couldn't really figure out how to operate it. My kid goes to the bus school, I can't stand the website. I mean, I literally am like, I don't ever want to go to your website because I can't ever find anything. Now, they're not asking me, you know, to solve that problem, but for you guys, I think, you know, I know that Becky and Leandra presented a sort of a web overhaul and as a sort of a secondary proposal type thing. But I think even if we were green lit on that, that still takes time. So I would still suggest that we would try to find maybe some cheap, fast solutions to at least address that while the new web architecture was getting constructed. But again, I'm not a web designer, so I'll shut up.
You had some metrics. You said that it's usually after 7 times that someone sees an advertisement that they would click to go do something. Do you have metrics on, you know, what percentage you would expect that of new people visiting a homepage should be viewing admissions if our website was set up correctly and that sort of thing?
I would have to look because that would vary from sector to sector, so I have to see what we have on education. But I can definitely get back to you guys with that.
Yeah, I mean, you're asking a question that I sort of asked earlier too. When I look at the numbers, I'm like, are these good numbers? Are they bad numbers? Right? Like, what does it mean when you're seeing 100 and some odd thousand or 200,000, views and stuff? So, from these guys talking to me earlier, I can say that, the money spent equal sort of success in terms of engagement and success in terms of driving people to sort of seek more information. Where we fall off the cliff is that sort of that information piece where the answer says, okay, they stay at 30 seconds on the website. Obviously, we want them to drill into the website to get the information. So the question we have to be asking ourselves is, how do we provide that message or that information or that opportunity that would lead a parent to say, I want more, and that's the disconnect we're at now. So we can drive them there, we just can't keep them there. So that's the next stage of this.
So if you hit the next slide, I'll explain. This is more about forward thinking. So what the communication strategy laid out is like the recipe, but then the actual implementation. So even though it says phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, they don't necessarily have to, you don't necessarily have to complete one for the other. They can intertwine. So with the communications audit, it would be really beneficial for us to have a meeting to go over like what I found, like what could be improved. Because before you do a new ad campaign, there should be, don't want to do the same thing twice and expect a different result. So there are things that we can control on our end that would make the campaign more effective. So for instance, a couple ideas might be, so I understand that Alice King is a diverse school with like different learning styles, platforms. But certain programs in the school have a higher representative of students compared to other schools. And to bulk up the other programs, I like showcases and student profiles because I talked about this with Christy, like what happens when we search the school on social media or on Google, like it might not be like what you were aiming for, but with the more student profiles that have like are from different aspects of the school. Because like back home, like when I went to high school, there was like the something school, like what was it? This one was good with basketball. This is like the genius school. This is like the art school. But for Alice King, for someone to think like, oh, like that could be me at that school. Like I see myself there. Or if you're asked parents like, why did you choose Alice King? You want them to have an answer like that, not like convenience or close to my house, but like something that really differentiates the school from others. So that's why so that's like conceptualizing the messaging, and then like phase 2, that would be, editing the website, making sure that certain keywords are more represented in the website, that is what, if someone searches, that's gonna come up. And those ones are fairly simple. It's editing text and finding out like, okay, we hardly get anyone that's interested in the arts. Mention showcase more of arts or more of something that you don't think that people see your school as. I don't know how many tours or open houses you do, but that's also another component. I wouldn't say it's more simple to like tweak a website with like language, and because the ad reaches a lot of people, but then when they go to the website, there's that breakdown. And it's not enough just to raise awareness. You ultimately want someone to like change their attitude and their behavior.
Yeah, I mean, this is I think the simple way to know it is like, you're trying to harmonize all of it, right? You're harmonizing the paid piece, which is the ads that they're describing, what we used to call the owned piece, which is, your social media or your website and those kind of elements. But yeah, we want there to be, in a sense, that strategy finding its way through every public facing aspect of your world, right? So Becky's talking about these student profiles, there would also presumably be family profiles, the people that have the 3 kids here and have watched, all of their, and maybe their 3 kids have 3 different learning styles or 3 different levels of interest. And these are all met, on this campus. But this is like left hand talking to right hand, talking to head, talking to feet. Like everything needs to be harmonized. And I know when we were here before, like the social media piece, and we talked about it, social media is often just done sort of ad hoc. Oh, somebody was there, they took the photo. But those things need to be part of that same strategy. Like, what kind of photos do we want to take to them? Where do they fit in with a social media calendar? Again, what are we trying to achieve? Because if it's just information for the sake of information, you'll end up like every other school out there, right? I think the successful ones are the ones that are sort of commonly rowing in the same direction. And they do have a strategy that is as simple as, what open house photos we're posting, talking to the people that are doing those ads, talking to the graphic designers who are developing the content, talking to the people drafting the messaging. It is, yeah, I mean, it's sort of a whole, well, your whole student, this is sort of whole information packaging too, so.
Then like phase 3 touches more on the visibility and broader influence. I'm not sure how much you engage with media. I'm not sure. I know like back home, not to bring it up again, but parents would submit like achievements that their kids did and it was highlight the school. Back then it was a newspaper, so that would be as effective as like, just getting like little blips into newspapers. And then if you were to go on a Wikipedia article for like any college, whatever, and you scroll to the bottom, they'll say notable people. For the most part, they're notable for something good. But then you could see like, oh, who went to this school? Like they're well known. Having like an alumni section on the website, like, alumni connection, like here's what our alumni are doing like out in the world. So alumni outreach, just so not only do parents see the short term for the kid, they can visualize the next step, high school and beyond. So that wraps up that slide. This one, it just kind of like sums up everything, like awareness, that's important, but you need, why does the school stand out? You want to make families interested, make the application process easy, and then interest in enrollment improvements. So I think the last slide is just like recommended next steps. So I don't know if, Nate, do you have a copy of the communication?
Yeah, I see some people have this, so.
I handed those out. So I'm gonna turn this over to Nick, who can go over next steps and what would need to happen for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably most important is you guys probably should ask us whatever questions you've got. I mean, obviously, we have sort of a menu of options here. We typically operate under sort of a retainer basis, and it can be sort of tiered based on sort of people's level of I guess, projected engagement, but also in terms of available funding. So obviously you can order a Rolls Royce if you want a Rolls Royce, but you can also order a Camry or a Corolla if that's a better fit. So they've got here on the I guess on page 5 sort of the different retainer options. And, you know, the way these things are typically calculated, at least for us, is that, you know, we've got some people who, you know, bill out at a very high rate. You know, the CEO is going to bill out at, you know, up top, right? And somebody who's very junior is going to bill out toward the bottom, right? So we try to create sort of a blended hybrid rate. In our case, it's about, I haven't checked with the CFO, but it's been typically hovering in those sort of, let's say, 175 an hour. That buys you access to Doug or to anybody on that senior level, to the creative director, for example, who bills out, you know, in the high 200s. Somebody like me coming to a meeting, it means that basically you're not pigeonholed in sort of junior step. And it also gives you a dependable, predictable, sort of recurring fee. Now, we've got a range in here for this sort of this option 1 and option 2. It's not necessarily how I would do things, but one way we could break it down for you is to show you from a blended rate standpoint. Okay, for $6,000 on average, that's at 175, that's 40 some odd hours. That you know, that would equal, if we were to exceed that and went to 50 some odd hours, that might equal $7,000 or $8,000. But it's all based on that 175 blended rate. And then, you know, in terms of the options that these guys have pulled together, you know, one is obviously less intensive and less sort of day to day. But, you know, when you talk about a firm like ours, and we didn't really discuss it, but, you know, we're, quote, an integrated firm, which means we have a creative department. We have graphic designers. We can produce animated videos, or, you know, we do still graphics all day, every day. So it just means that you in a sense are buying from the team. These guys are the sort of the tip of the spear in terms of, you know, the day-to-day of the work. But for example, if you are doing a brainstorm and you want somebody like me to come, that's, you know, part of the deal. I'm happy to join and happy to contribute. But ultimately it does, like I said, it gives us the ad buying capability. It gives us the PR if we want to do straight PR. We don't typically, you know, we don't do, I guess, media for the sake of media. We, you know, we're a little bit different than just a straight PR firm. The PR, the earned media, has to serve a purpose, and it would be serving as support for either the paid media that these guys are doing, the messaging or events or anything else. But ultimately it comes down to money. So you'd have to decide, you know, what works and what doesn't. And then of course the paid piece, the advertising, would be outside of that. So you would allocate, you know, based on working with Leandra and Becky, okay, we feel comfortable spending X amount of dollars on, let's say, another online digital social kind of campaign. And then it would be up to Leandra to sort of work to figure out, okay, well, how are those dollars best spent? And then it would be up to us to then deliver the metrics that say, okay, this is performing well, this isn't. But we do a lot of campaigns where we're in a sense kind of running constant improvements. So, you know, just because we developed, you know, message A doesn't mean that message A doesn't morph into message B by month 2, because we've either learned some stuff or we've run some other ads and these ones are performing better than these other ones, or quite frankly, this photo, this family is driving more, for whatever, you know, mysterious reason, is driving more click-throughs or whatever. So it is kind of an iterative process, but, you know, we also can set up a retainer contract that says, okay, we'll do this for the next X number of months, and we can reevaluate what's working from your perspective and what's working from ours, and, you know, renegotiate. None of this stuff is written in stone, and that's not how we typically operate. I don't know. I mean, do you have questions for us?
I just want to add that for like the ad campaigns, if we did billboard, anything, all the work before that is covered in the retainer. It's only the actual cost of the buy itself. So if you want to spend 2,000 on ads, we would create and do all the ads, and that's included in the retainer, but the 2,000 to actually purchase the ads is what's separate.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, very much. Very thankful.
Likewise, by the fact that we have two separate brochures, I might understand the same thing for website. development.
Website is a animal that, think of it as sort of the exotic section of the grocery store. I mean, we work with, I guess we have a partnership with a web design firm where all they do is web. And we design the website. So our graphic designers would say, here's the look, here's the feel, here's the exact way the landing page needs to look. Then we give it to the mad scientists and the computer programmers who are now probably using AI to do it, but they're the ones who basically turn it into the live site. So yes, pricing for actual web design would be a separate sort of bolt on. Now, some of the web stuff that Becky was talking about, like reviewing the web copy, trying to optimize existing language, existing messaging, maybe photo stuff like that.
Yeah.
That we would cover near term under the existing sort of retainer of activities. But, you know, it's like any budget that any household has, is that we would, in a sense, want to prioritize in collaboration with you. Okay, this is in a sense where we're going to spend our time in month one. This is where we think we're going to spend our time in month two, so that nobody's getting a surprise bill, but equally everybody's on the same page and not saying, hey, I thought you were doing messaging. Why in heck are you delivering us whatever new web copies for the existing website? So there's going to continue to be a lot of, I guess, conversations across the group, but that would be the deal.
And it sounds like what we may need the most early on is that website refresh, for lack of a professional term.
Yeah,
Of,
I think it's maybe a stick of dynamite in terms of the website. In terms of, are you talking about refresh, like redo? or-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like we need.
Overhaul.
The
Yeah,
overall.
complete overhaul, yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like to me, your guys' opinion is that why bring a whole bunch of clicks to this?
Fair point.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think that there would be value in sort of a parallel work stream where maybe there's not so much paid advertising, to your point that why are you driving to do this? But I do think from the strategy work they've done and the audit work they've done, that it would be worthwhile, depending on how long the website is going to take, to spend some time to be developing that messaging, to be developing, for example, a social media calendar, to be interviewing maybe some of those parents and having some informal conversations that sort of get us to the place that make sure that our messaging and even down to the imagery aligns with the community that you have here. So that would be my professional advice. You know, you could do the sort of the lower retainer amount to keep these guys sort of working with you, and then authorize the website, which would be this other sort of parallel piece. But that's, you know, ultimately up to you. But some of that messaging that would be in the new website necessarily has to come from the work that they would be doing, I guess. But I hear you on the advertising. What? Any
other questions?
I can give you my business card, so if you have a question that pops into your head later, I just really.
Yeah, I mean, and we're just down the road. I mean, you know, so if there are follow-up questions, you can send us emails. We can always jump on a Teams call or anything else too. We're not, you know, people of mystery. But we would, you know, for example, if you do decide to move forward on the website, we would need to sort of get in the queue on that pretty fast.
Yeah.
And I would have to talk to folks, just, you know, understand literally how long it would take. And then we would need to obviously understand with you in terms of all these back-end components, like what are essential components, what are expendable components, what in this revamp would you want to see? So that's probably a whole other exploratory endeavor, but a worthwhile one.
And something we could start accomplishing even by going and looking at other websites. And
You
even
started
during this
great,
meeting,
yeah.
you know, checked out ours versus others.
Yeah,
Aren't that great.
yeah, I mean, Agenda's website is like held together with duct tape because we keep doing everybody else's. So literally today, I sent some additional new copy for all these sort of case studies and other things that, yeah, we're sometimes the marketers to trust most of the people with the worst stuff because we're busy doing it for everybody else. But yeah, if you have other websites too, and I would say that, like, if you're aware of other websites that you like, other academic websites, you know, yeah, you want to share that with us for sure. But yeah.
Do you all have statistics on how many of the hits come on a mobile device versus a computer?
Yes, would you like me to send that to you guys?
Yeah, I think that would be. Because I'm sure that affects design, right?
Well, yeah, we designed for both mobile and for desktop. So, and obviously these days, mobile is kind of everything.
So
So,
while you all were talking, that's what I was doing, was looking at the mobile version and imagining some of what you were saying.
yeah,
How they put all these good ideas. on
yeah,
this.
the folks that we use are, yeah, 1000% on Team Mobile in terms of how they're designing. And I think that certainly any parent of a young child today is gonna be a mobile parent, probably versus.
I can send, I think I used Chrissy a hard copy, so I can definitely send digital copies. But yeah, we do have all the stats of like mobile devices, time of day, days, even some charts, you know. So I'll send a digital copy of this to Chrissy.
Great, and I'll share it out with everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I said, if you guys have follow-on questions, you know, feel free to bug us. You know, these guys are the primaries, but I'm happy to step in, and Doug was traveling today, so he would have been here, but he's in Arizona, so I couldn't force him to snag for that. But yeah, we're available.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time.
Yeah.
With.
You know, you need a motion to move us out of here or anything?
No. You guys are free to go and stay as you wish.
Okay.
I mean, these meetings are riveting, I can tell you.
I know, I'm not gonna sign the subscription service. But no, we appreciate your time and recognize you've got a lot on your agenda, so apologies if we chewed up too much of it.
No, we did not. That was very.
Very helpful. All right.
Nice to meet all of
Yes,
you.
pleasure to meet you and have a great evening.
Thank you guys.
All right, enjoy your pizza.
Bye, thanks, everyone.
Nice meeting everyone. Go,
All right.
email me with any questions.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Becky.
One question I figured that needs to be asked of them. Are there rules on how much money we can spend and what types of things we can spend state dollars on advertising?
I don't.
I don't know. We're real.
I'm not aware of anything like that, but that's a great question.
Like promotional versus true informational, is there a line where you cross promotional, because like the federal government has a big line. Promotional versus information.
And which one's the naughty kind?
Promotional, just like
Can't promote the government.
and all those stuff. Okay.
It's cold.
You spend on the website all day long. Just give it information. That's what the government is here to do, right? Well, it's funny why they were doing that. I did go to at least one other school website. And the first thing, as soon as you go right in the center of the page is lottery enrollment. How to join our school.
Yes, they must have this presentation already.
Did you give us the list of their schools that they?
No, I don't think we asked them that. That's a good thing. Let's go look at theirs.
Instead of just,
Well,
trying to
We can send Miss Papa an email and ask her that exact question.
I like their idea about advertising, this is free education. Be careful on how you advertise free education of private school, learning opportunities. Yeah, that's true. I didn't know anything about charter schools, so.
People call and ask. Is
Yeah.
it free? That's
Yeah.
the question you ask.
Fair question.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was probably helpful, so I think we snuck that in right before Christie's report, and just as she got her pizza, and then.
Okay. Get up, so it'll fit you both for me. All right, so, we didn't meet in July, so school started, I guess that's our big update.
Last time we hung out, we were getting ready to go on summer break.
Right,
Here
right.
we are. back
And
in
here
school.
we are, we're actually in our 4th week of school already. And, enrollment wise, this is really interesting. I did meet with the folks from Agenda, I think last week, and we did talk about how unfortunately, all of the work that they didn't yield any additional students for the school. So I think we ended the school year right around 330 students. We are currently sitting at 331 students. So, I do think that there is a lot of room for us to really be thinking about how do we try to increase that enrollment. And I think there's a lot of value to what they're saying in terms of our website and how can we increase that number, because it's important. We really ideally want to be at 425 students. We're far away from that. I think reasonably, if we can, really start building that. I was really hoping out of all of that work, we could get an extra 20 students, and we're not quite there, unfortunately. So, currently for staffing, we are in the process of hiring a 2nd and 3rd grade teacher, as well as a part-time nurse. And those are open positions. We have everything covered right now, so there's no worries about kids not getting a good quality education or anything like that. It's that we do have these open positions right now. We've done a lot of construction. The kitchen construction was completed at the end of July, barely by the skin of our teeth, in order to start serving meals to students. But it is fully operable. And it's really nice, actually. So if you walk down there at some point, you can see that they actually put up when the building was originally designed back 10, 11 years ago, we had an area that was meant to be like an open library space, and just the way in which education has evolved over the years, that wasn't highly utilized. And so that has now become our kitchen. And so walls were put in, it's a fully enclosed kitchen now. And there's space for the oven, there's prep tables, there's a big freezer, big refrigerator. So it's really nice.
A tour upon adjournment.
Sure. We have actual serving window with one of those really fancy slide up and slide down metal gates that can be
Like
fully
we're
locked
used to as
down.
kids.
Exactly,
Real?
yeah. The front office was remodeled. You may have seen that as you walked through. That is nearly completed. We're still waiting on a few doors and some acoustical panels and but it's nearly done. We did create a new office space up there, and then the front desk was reconfigured so that we had room for 2 people who could work in the front desk area. So same amount of space, just a reconfiguration. And so far things are working really well. The balcony, all of that work will be actually tomorrow. We actually, it's all starting tomorrow. So over the summer, when we had a lot of rain, we discovered some leaks that were happening that were coming actually from the flooring of the balcony into the cafeteria below. So timing wise, it worked out very, very nicely because now we can see before they can come in and do all new flooring on the balcony that they actually have to they need to actually remove and replace the roofing, which is really the flooring, but it's a little confusing, but they do consider it a re-roof that they have to do on that before they can come in and lay down the flooring and put in the shade structures on the balcony. So that will start happening tomorrow.
Does that affect project cost at all?
Yes, a little bit. It was about 10,000 to do a re-roof with a 20-year warranty. Yep. We are up and running with our new statewide student information system. The system went live in July. We are working through a lot of the headaches of the transition. Our data really did carry over very nicely. There was a lot of work to make sure that all of our data transferred. And so it seems like all of that's okay. It's more of just trying to do a lot of the back end stuff that we are not used to having to do that APS took care of for us. And so it's been a little bit of a headache, but we're working through it so that we can make sure that all of our data is getting transferred over to the state and that it's accurate. Because that affects everything we do. With the beginning of the school year, we had some really great professional development happening for teachers. And one of the things that we did was really talk about how we are in our 20th year now. It is the 20th year of AKCS. So we're really trying to make a big deal about that. And one of the activities that the staff engaged in was coming up with a project-based learning activity that incorporated the theme 20 years. And so their brainstorms are posted around the room here. And so they had to come up with some kind of snazzy theme, come up with a way that they were going to incorporate older students and younger students for that leadership and mentorship model that we really work on. And so we had some people come up with some really creative things that I thought, hey, we could use that for marketing. Like, you know, we've got keeping our roots, growing our future. You know, really, a lot of people really incorporated in that idea of the tree that's in our logo. Mm-hmm. So you're welcome to peruse those. And people have there's some really great ideas. I'm always like, I wish I could come up with stuff like that.
Well, and might as well mark it because that's part of our enrollment problem is all the new schools that have popped on the scene.
Exactly.
And it's like, look, we're actually tried and true.
Right, exactly.
Always promote that in the tours.
Uh-huh.
Our 20th.
Yeah,
That's right.
We're not trying this out. We figured this out.
Right. Any questions? It's a very short report, but we've been busy. But a lot of it's been on enrollment, construction, staffing.
Or how's our sign coming?
I was just gonna ask.
Well, I should have had the contractors pop in. They were here as some of you.
Make
were
them
talking
answer
about
for
it.
It's permitting still, yeah.
It is still permitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna invite the permitting office to our next meeting.
That's right.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and so the last I heard this afternoon about the sign is there's the holdup on permitting now for it has to do with because it's on the corner, there's some kind of something about a triangle and making sure the visibility isn't obstructed and things like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So they're working through it, I guess.
Yes. All right. Well then, thank you.
Mhm.
And with that, we're going to report from invited guests, seeing that we don't have a foundation person online or in the building. I assume we don't have a foundation report today.
We don't, but we'll actually get to an item under new business that actually ties in with the foundation.
All right. Well, then let's go ahead and move on to a council committee reports, finance, facility, and HR. Note that we don't have one right here today.
No, so can I present that or should
You
Christy?
can. No, you may do that.
Perfect. So we met today in our committee and we discussed the June and July financials. We pulled backup for anything that was over $5,000. It was reviewed and there were no issues identified. We went over journal entries and we also went over the 2 bars that I will be presenting here soon. For now, we start with June. In terms of vendors, not really anything big to point out. Just keep in mind, if you start seeing some new names, especially at the end of June, early July, we have a lot of new hires during that time. And when they do get their background checks for $59, we do reimburse them. So if you start seeing some new names pop up, that's where that's coming from, as long as you see $59 associated with it. I'm like, yep, there they are. But in terms of new vendors, we did not have new vendors this month.
Okay, can I have you go up? There's a couple names that I didn't remember seeing in the past.
$59 next year?
No,
Okay.
they weren't 59. They weren't a lot, but they weren't 59. Let me see. I saw Cliffs for one. What's
Yeah.
going on with Cliffs?
Middle school got to go on a field
Eighth
trip
grade.
with them.
That's good.
And Albert Sanchez was the bus that took them.
Good. Okay, go up some more. What one did I see that? Post Lake Linden.
That's a payroll deduction for an employee.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions about the June report?
All right, and then the budget summary of funds, you see I highlighted a lot of our non-reverting funds and we spent them to 0. Woo-hoo. I should have highlighted 26107 as well. That was the hardest staff stipend, but it was kind of like it came down from PD through Region 9 and we paid it out on our end. So, but yeah, no negative balances, which means we didn't overspend in any of our budget lines. So
Can you talk about the operational balance? Because that would be end of year and people would be wondering
excited
about if that's carryover or not.
So, yeah, I mean, you can see the uncovered budget balance there. However, keep in mind at year end like that, until we get reimbursed our other funds as we're closing out the year, operational is kind of covering that deficit at that point in time until those refunds come in. Because we're on a reimbursement basis, we don't typically receive money up front. Yeah. Start of July looks worse. We'll have to explain that, but not in like a bad way. It's normal.
The normal balance.
It is. It's a normal bad way.
All right, well, let's take them one at a time since they're different months. Does anybody have any other questions about June before we do any motions relative to that? All right, may I have a motion to approve the June 2026 budget report?
So moved.
I get a second.
One second.
Right, any discussion? All in favor, Dominic?
Aye.
Fav-
Sorry, I couldn't find the button.
Fabian?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Aaron? Aye. Motion carries, seeing none opposed.
Then here's our bank account register for July. You're gonna see some things that only pop up once a year, like EdLeo, that's for our website. Harris Computer Systems, that is an annual fee as well that we tend to do, that's not monthly.
And who is Harris and what do they do for us?
They're our accounting software. It's also the site where our employees can see their pay stubs, leave, and W-2s.
And that's an annual fee. Okay.
What's the name of the accounting system again, the software?
Aptifund,
Afterfund, and they're just ones who sell that to us, process it for us. Are they new? Do we used to get them from somebody else?
no, it looks like you guys have had Aptifund for years.
Who's Go Guardian?
I could talk about,
Mhm.
it's kind of like monitoring software, so like when you're in class,
you can see what your students are on, like what tabs they're on, and make sure they're not deviating or searching up things they shouldn't be looking at.
And it runs through the network itself?
Yeah.
No.
Teachers can control it being, it's really cool.
This got popular during COVID
Yes,
for
it did.
obvious reasons. Someone like Sarah Montgomery, she has such a high dollar amount because, again, beginning of year, we're buying a lot of supplies that teachers have requested too. And so there are some vendors that are there where maybe a teacher wants a one-time subscription for just their classroom, but they don't take POs for smaller amounts. So sometimes the teachers are having to buy it and get reimbursed.
Who's ProCare?
Say that again?
ProCare? Who's that?
ProCare, that's our aftercare software. It's where they can accept billing and show balances. And then you'll see, do you see all like the 24106, 24154, 11,000 prior year? You're gonna start seeing like prior year on a lot of things. Those were like end of year reimbursements that we're finally receiving now in July. And for the budget summary of funds for food services, I'll fix that -5%. That's just showing I over encumbered it by that amount. I'll fix it. It'll look better next month. That was my fault. For operational, do you see how it says 2.3 million unencumbered and 34% remaining? I haven't encumbered all the jobs at the end of July, so that's going to go down maybe about 10% or so by next month. So just kind of be ready for a decent sized drop. That's very normal as we start encumbering things like possible substitutes and all other jobs throughout the fiscal year.
So what was our carryover?
Total amount, can I run you a report in a little bit and tell you?
Oh, sure, yeah. Just curious, because I think that might help us make decisions on things like marketing.
I will make sure I run that report and give it to you. Yeah, we have things like IDAB again, both the preschool and the regular one. We have Title II again this year. Title IV, I should have highlighted too. Sorry, that's a new one for us this year for Title IV. We're using that for an attendance clerk. Also, MathLab Pilot, that's a 2-year program. So that one will not revert at year end. We'll still get another year out of that one. And of course, we don't have lease assistance yet, so you're going to see that line item missing, but we did apply for it on time. So hopefully in the next few months, we'll get that dollar amount.
Any other questions? Then can I get a motion to approve the budget report for July 2026?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
A second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor? Dominic?
Aye.
Fabian?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Aaron? Aye. None opposed? Motion carries.
Now we've got 2 bars for tonight. And these both were initiated from the state. So one of them is capital outlay and the other one is 27107. That's our library fund that we're sometimes awarded for it. But we'll start with the first one. So bar 0001-I. This is an increase of 46 cents. So basically when I do budget, I estimate like how much are we gonna spend it to, and I was like 46 cents. So we had to do, well, the state did a little increase because they keep track of both these funds very closely, and so they generated the bars.
All right. May I have a motion to approve bar ending in 0001-I?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Dominic?
Aye.
Fabian?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Aaron? Aye. Motion carries.
I got so excited when I first opened that bar and saw the 359,000. I was like, oh, wow, what did we get this for? And then I read it a little closer. I was like, oh, never mind.
Sense.
And this one is bar 0002-D, so it's a decrease. This is okay, that's all right. We spent this money before year end. We just, when I was doing the budget, we hadn't spent it all down at that point in time. So I budgeted based on what we had at that point in time. And we actually had to do that amount. We had to spend that down by June 30th. So this is a good thing.
That was for library and audiovisual.
It could be any kind of supplies that are used for the library.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve bar ending in 0002-D?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor, Dom,
Aye.
Fabian,
Aye.
Pat?
aye.
Aye. Seeing none opposed, the motion carries. All right, well, I think that takes care of our finance facility and HR. So now we can go to nominating council professional development committee.
Okay. Let's talk about professional development first. It's a new year. And, we all received the schedule of online classes for the whole year. We're all still have to do 5. We don't have a new person yet, so we don't have to deal with that, but they've combined two of the courses. Each month, it looks like they've tried to combine 2 courses so that you really only are online 4 times instead of 5. So that helps a little bit. We're more than halfway through the month of August. With several of the courses that are already been televised before we even got the schedule from PED. So, but it's the same stuff. I'm hoping that they've changed it a little bit, because otherwise it would be really boring. But so that, and all of us except one person met all the requirements this last year. So that's good. And the other item, nominating committee, I guess I wanted to talk about that, but I'm not sure where I should talk about it. I'm hesitant to encourage anybody to go out and try and recruit people until we get a certain HR issue resolved. And I don't know if I'm thinking correctly or not, because a lot of that we can't share. And I don't want someone new coming in and saying, oh, good, I'm gonna do this. And then all of a sudden stuff lands on the table and they say, well, I didn't buy into that. I didn't want to take a position that was going to require that much extra work. So I don't know how you all feel, but I've kind of been laying back, and I think most of everyone else has. No one's given me any suggestions. Now, maybe when we have parents' night or when the open house, we could have a table. But I think that's where we need to be at this point, is to think about a table, and whatever happens with the website and the communications, I think will be helpful for us.
I can tell you that the board's role should be significantly reduced regarding any HR issues. If the board had to take a very active role for one part of the process based on statute. But now it's outside the board's hands into the private arbitrator's hands. So I would say recruit away.
Okay.
And especially now that we're into a new education year.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just really hesitant about someone who wants full disclosure on everything that's gone on in the last year.
Mhm.
They may have heard by the grapevine that, you know, we had some issues this last year. And we can't talk about it, and, some people don't want to even be in the periphery of something like that. So, I guess what I'm saying is that be cognizant of that when you recruit people. You can't come out and say, but you can get a feel for how they feel about controversy.
Yeah, no, I think it's
So
just,
we're doing, I mean, we're doing really well. We've got a good solid board. I would love to have one, maybe two more people.
I would too. I would.
I settle for one at this point.
Especially when you get somebody, you know, advertising focused, web focused, you know.
Well, I think we probably really do need someone, because I can't imagine that there won't need to be someone either on the administrative side or on the board side that needs to be pretty involved in what's going on, no matter what we decide we're going to do.
Yeah. It would definitely be helpful to have them at all the major meetings, all the design type meetings.
Yes, and that might, you know, be quite a commitment of time.
What do you guys have now, 7?
So
And which is good, because we really do want
it's
a
nice
number.
to have a tiebreaker,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, I would take 8. Would take that.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, that's it. That's all I have.
Perfect, thank you. Policy committee. You're right back up in the hot seat, Pat. Policy committee.
It's trying to kind of install on this, and, our committee has been kind of stalled, so we need to get back onto this.
I can just maybe add a little bit, our school council does have copies of our current handbooks, both employee handbook and student handbook. And the plan was for her to review those over the summer. She ran out of time. And so she asked me whether or not we still want that done, or if she should wait till next summer. And I said, no, keep it on your list. And when you can get to it. And then we can always look at bringing it to the board for approval whenever things are at a point where we can look at it.
No,
Who's this? Sorry, Christy, who are you talking about?
Our school council, legal counsel, just to
Ah.
have, yeah, just to have all of our handbooks looked at through, you know, that legal lens.
at some point in time, she was reviewing 2 policies. Kind of got put on the back burner in this HR issue. And I do believe we handled one and decided we'd still table the other.
That's still where we are.
We want to bring it back up, though, that second one, okay.
At risk of enraging Aaron, have we thought about doing a kind of a review with AI, like throwing those into AI with like charter school legal guidelines and saying, hey, is there anything that pops out at you? Not to rewrite anything, but it might be able to flag stuff.
I haven't thought of that. I'm still kind of getting used to the idea of AI myself, so it doesn't come to the forefront for me, but something.
But yeah, I mean, I don't dislike that idea at all. And if somebody with AI abilities like yourself want to join our policy committee, I think it would be a really good idea.
When are you guys meeting, Aaron? Or is it you and Patricia?
Yeah, we don't have a meeting set, but
And I'm on that too.
we're happy to set one up, because yeah, I'm kind of with Miss Christie. I know AI is out there and we should probably be figuring it out, but that's about as far as I've gotten. That actually uses it on a daily basis. I think that'd be a good idea. And just in her defense, the reason our council hasn't got to it, the reason that she's been busy all summer is completely our fault.
Right.
Yep.
It's on us.
And related to that, remember we had run when we updated the strategy and particularly the vision and everything, we had run that language through with the policy and whatnot to see if there was any indicators of anything that could need to be changed there. And it was pretty neat and it worked out. It pretty much told us, and then we did our own human intelligence look at it to see,
Yeah,
was this about right or not? And it was, which was, the conclusion was, we don't really need to change anything. We're good.
Yeah, that was,
yeah, no, we would love that kind of
We might
assistance
wanna-
on the policy committee.
I can tell you, we do it federally now, we're really big into AI, we probably did about 3,500 pages of federal regulations last
Wow.
2 months.
Yeah.
Remarkable, absolutely remarkable. And
Wow.
you can have it go check other charter school websites, and it's on the public domain. Like, it's incredible how much work we do.
And that's why I'm not a big AI user, is because I have to worry about client data, so I've been real hesitant about it. But we're a public entity, everything we have is public. So it really
And same
doesn't,
with every other charter school.
yeah.
Don, did you want to join our committee?
You don't even have to be a permanent member,
Yeah.
you could, as an ad hoc member.
Thank you very much.
I couldn't press the unmute button. Yeah, I mean, I don't know when y'all usually meet, but I wouldn't mind, especially to support that exercise. So I've been kind of like Fabian, using it a little bit. I think 75% of the notes that we wrote this last week were automated with AI, so I'm getting pretty close to not having to do that. So yeah, I'd love to help if I can.
I'll look at the calendar and throw 2-3 dates out. So we see if we can decide on something for next month, September.
Excellent.
Can
I feel like I am.
And Fabian.
I know Fabian is.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy, and that, if nothing else, to watch Dom work,
Oh, yeah.
teach me a little bit about AI. Excellent, all right,
All right,
well
I'll
then,
work on trying to find a date for all 4 of us.
perfect. Well, and that takes care of the part 2 of item C regarding the student electronic devices.
Yeah,
That's
the-
one of the things that is,
That's the one that we
yeah, it's still on the table.
push even further back.
All right, strategic planning committee, yeah.
Let's see. So something I attempted to do since we last meet is I wanted to try to go to one of the foundation meetings. Ben was gonna try to come to one of these to give like a little bit of a self-evaluation of how the foundation strategy areas were doing. And I tried to go to one of their meetings. I got there late and I don't know what's going on, but I didn't get to attend like I hoped. And then I believe they've been going through like change in leadership, right? So then
Yes,
I
and
was
that
like,
was
maybe,
done all last month.
so I was thinking maybe let that materialize. I'd love to get with whoever the new president is. And just kind of like talk through some things so because I feel like that's a gap that we've had between that and equity, but particularly this one that we have that team that's active, be able to talk to them and be able to have them report back on where they're doing on that. And more broadly,
Is it Ben?
No, he's treasurer still.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we need that. Is it Megan? Or Nancy?
I think it's Nancy.
Nancy Brooks.
Okay.
so I know Nancy, I will get in touch with her and have conversation
Mhm.
about that. So that's good. And I mean, my bigger concern on the just overall school strategy front is probably marketing, which we'll talk more about later.
Yeah.
But that's it for me.
Excellent. Academic committee, Mr. Anderson is in Portugal, it sounds like, so I don't think we're gonna be hearing much from him. Do you have anything from that committee you wanna?
We
Alright.
have not met as a committee. Dom, I don't know if you want to chime in since you're on academic committee.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dave has put in like the heavy work there. We've sat in on the sessions before and he's done a really good job like synthesizing the data so that we can take a look and then talking through it. So I mean, Christy, if if you have new data, I've got time to meet. I mean, we can always figure out a time to meet, that works for y'all. So,
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it would be end of year data at the end of last year. And then our Nemesa data is currently embargoed. But we do have some of that information. And we also have of course, our iReady and Amira and all of that from the end of the year.
And as a board, we haven't seen that.
Right.
Okay. Cool.
yeah, I know that Dave had done a pretty good year-over-year analysis of trends, and so that end of year data may be interesting to see. I think it'd be good to get that in those spreadsheets and just see where we're at.
Yeah, and as soon as the Nemesa data is no longer embargoed, then I'll have a whole lot of data for you guys again.
Okay, sounds good.
State of the School Event Committee, Veronica, she's not with us today. So we'll punt that report until next time. All right, then old business discussion and action on authorized representative designations and signers for BOK bonds. We kind of just kept that as a rolling item on the agenda. Have we heard anything?
Laura, do we need to continue to keep this on the agenda? Okay.
They approved it, foundation approved it, we just got submitting on our end.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, we'll drop that for next month's agenda. Discussion and distribution of council self-evaluation. I feel like Rhonda had a thought with that. Was it Rhonda or was it Dom?
That was me. I just sent the 26 self-evaluation out to everybody. It's the general e-form that we went through the last year, updated a little bit. Aaron, I had trouble with your email address, so I'm going to email you the link, and you'll probably have to get back to me to see if you can open it or not. And yeah, I don't know if as far as timeline, if everyone thinks that they can get it done before the next meeting, if you could get it done in the next 2 weeks, then we could get the data together and talk then, or if we want to, have the deadline to have it done before next meeting and then present out the month after that, really whatever y'all think.
Okay, well, what I'm gonna do, Dom, is I'm gonna send you an email to both your emails. And that way you could just respond with that thing to me. Because I'm in the process of trying to make sure all my AKCS stuff goes to my AKCS account instead of my Boston account. So I'm gonna just put on here GC evaluation. And if you don't mind, just forwarding it over to that address.
Yep, you got it.
And I got it on mine, Dom. I'll get it done within the next week.
Okay. Sounds good. How does everyone feel about that 2 weeks and then brief out at next meeting? Is everyone comfortable with that?
Yeah, I think that's great. We consider it distributed now, and then yeah, I think we could, as long as we can all get it filled out in the next 2 weeks, then we can approve it, and ratify that we did it at the next meeting.
Sounds good.
Put that on the agenda for ratification.
And you have that link now, Aaron.
Awesome, thank you. There it is. Okay, well then, discussion of officer succession planning is our next item of business. You guys, let me have seen an email from me yesterday, I believe. This is, I think our next meeting is our annual meeting. So this is our last meeting where the current officers are going to hold their current positions, and we're going to need to elect new officers at our next meeting. So I just want to encourage everybody, if you're thinking about an office, please reach out to the person currently holding that office and ask them any questions you might have about the office, the duties, the commitments, tips, techniques. We just want to make sure we're all ready to have a slate ready to go for next time.
Hey, Aaron, out of curiosity, has anyone reached out to you?
No, it's been radio silence. Thank you for asking.
Who's reaching out, right?
Hey,
I heard- I
you know
did.
where to find me, Dom. You got 2 or 3 different emails for me, a cell phone number. Shepherd, I'm easy to find. I'm all over the websites.
Yep, just curious.
All right. Well, then I guess we can move on to new business. Discussion and action on additional marketing plan with Agenda Global. I kind of liked the way we had it set up, but they got to present, but then we got to discuss on our own. That being said, I didn't feel sales pressure tactics from them really at all. I thought they were very, very cool like that they didn't sign up tonight and get 20% off kind of thing. I thought they were fair to us there.
I couldn't see the handouts. I mean, what are the like rough order of magnitude price ranges you're looking at for the various options?
Well, that's an excellent question because the handouts are very important for that. It sounds like, and this is where we'd have to really drill down. For like a complete website development cost estimate was about 45 grand, 46.5. But that involves the think it through phase, the design phase, the build phase, and the delivery and support. So that's, and you might have heard me ask them, is website design separate? And they said, yes, it is. So I imagine that this might be more of the website designer's prices, but it also makes me wonder if we went through the retainer options, whether phase 1 and 2 would actually fall under a retainer option. Because that's the think it through phase and the design phase, which seems to me to feel kind of like the retainer options stuff. So basically for retainer options, Dom, and we'll make sure you get a copy of these handouts, they range between 6,000 and 12,000 per month. So you can see that that's a fairly small, that's a fair amount. But if we knew at the beginning, at the outset, that we were going to do a retainer option plus a website development, I think it would be appropriate to ask them, does the think it through phase and design phase fall within what we're already paying for the retainer, or is it something different?
Right.
So I'm going to just go out on a limb and say, if we wanted them to design and build us a website, because I think it would be holistic. I think they would essentially scrap ours and start over, is the sense I got from them. I'm thinking we're looking at, to get us through that, probably $75,000 or more. Did you get a sense?
No, I agree. And what I don't know is, how does that compare to other full website redos? Like, I mean, that it seems very, very, very high to me, but I don't really have anything to compare it to. What I can say about Agenda is they are through ACES. So it's not like we have to put this out to bid for bid or anything, which is nice. But I truly have nothing to compare it to in terms of, is this a decent price? Is it not a decent price? Is it fair market value? I have no idea.
But we could put it out for bid, right? We could turn what we know about the information that they provided into kind of a request for proposal and send that out to a few places to say, like, look, we want all of this stuff done. Because I mean, clarifying the price with Agenda is something we'd need to do anyway. And it seems like we're gonna have to write an RFP to get to understand those details a little bit better. I don't know.
If they use like the cooperative vendors, we don't have to do RFPs, they've already done that for us. So it's a little easier to go through a cooperative and just see what vendors they have and get quotes from them.
Do we
Okay.
know that there's another cooperative vendor that supplies the same service? Because to be fair, I don't view this simply as a website building service. I think it is a bit of a package deal. It's a rebrand, and maybe not as much a rebrand, but it is a
Re-imaging.
yeah, re-imaging, you know, making sure your, what you believe your image to be is conveyed to the community, both present and future, which is what we want. It's future is what we're looking for here. So, you know, you could probably find a computer nerd, for lack of a better term, that could build a pretty good looking website, but do they know necessarily how to drive the traffic you want to that website? Or I think this agenda does. That's
I
what they
agree.
do.
It seems like they have a way of tying it all together.
And how many months? Are you understanding 3 months? Or potentially more?
I would think at least 3 months, just for that, totally, you know, I'm not basing that on anything other than a gut feeling, but I don't think you could do a website redesign plus the marketing things necessary to populate the website. Because that's what they kind of said is, this is kind of a package because we can't build you a website if we don't have the content to build. But if we're gonna do the content to build, we should, you know, make sure we're doing it thoughtfully and engaging with your community and understanding what content you want to be up there.
They have already, this particular company has already done a lot of research when it comes to our school. And Laura, we've already paid them like 18,000, I want to say, for the push that we did in like the April-May timeframe in terms of the geofencing and the strategic planning meetings and things like that. So all of that work would get lost if we went to another company and essentially we start over with that piece of it. And so I think that, you know, they already come to the table with a lot of information about our school, and we've already had meetings with, of course, leadership, but also with, we've pulled in a lot of teachers and support staff who've been at the school a long time, some who've been at the school a shorter amount of time, and had a big strategic planning meeting with them as well. So I do think there is some benefit to continuing with them if possible, but I also, again, I just don't have anything else to compare it to. We could look at CES and ACES to see if there are other vendors and, you know, just a price check, I guess, and see if we could get a quote from them.
But you make a good point, like they might be, if we ever do go with someone else, they might say, oh, we need to start at the same place we just did with these guys to really understand the big picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did they provide you a report, Christy? Like, all of that initial work that they did and the things that they found out, did they provide like a summary report with that information, or is it kind of trade secrets that they kind of keep behind the scenes? It's their proprietary data. We don't get to touch some of that information.
They did share a report. I think it's pretty high level, and but she did say that she was going to share it electronically, and I'll forward that to you, to everybody, once I get that.
Okay, but you don't believe that would be enough? I mean, that just doesn't have enough information that someone else would be able to start from that place. They've got a lot more information from your team.
I think so, yeah. I don't think that report would be enough to just hand to another company and for them to pick up where this company's left off. But when I get it, I'll send it to you all, and you can see, you may feel differently about it.
So,
Well, if they're smart, they structure it that way so that it can't be.
can be handed to their competitors. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, their competitor can say, look, this is a nice summary of data, but we would need the data to do it.
Laura, how much on average do we get per student? Like for just a basic.
Like the unit value,
Mhm.
I think it's about 10,000.
And each student is how many units? I just want to give everybody kind of an idea.
It's a bit different. 'cause
I know.
it's like grade level.
I just thought kind of on average basic.
I honestly don't. know,
Okay.
Like on average, what it would be.
Yeah, so I want everybody I was just thinking like, if you spend 50,000 and how many students would you need to pull in to be able to kind of offset that?
Mhm. Yeah, 75, 100.
Sounds like
you
it
know.
would be too many students to break even.
No, and then that's an excellent segue to the next thing I was thinking is, if we're gonna keep having this problem, this enrollment problem, this competition from other schools problem, this declining birth rate problem, basically, if only the stronger are gonna survive this whole charter school thing because we're in a saturated market and less kids, and more options. It seems like you want to be one of those schools that's on the forefront, the cusp of doing this. And sometimes to do that, it takes spending some money. And it kind of feels to me like if we're ever gonna have that kind of money, it might be now. Hence my question earlier, and I know she's working on it, is what was our carryover? It feels like we might not have a lot of opportunities in the future to have some funds to do something like this again. And so, I don't know, it kind of feels like time might be of the essence in doing something like this. And just one quick search where they were talking of another school that I know has been fairly successful in Albuquerque. Their website did exactly what they were telling us our website should do. Well, the formula, some people know the formula out there, and we don't want to be the last people to figure out the formula. And if that means, and none of us have the time or technical expertise to implement the formula on our own. So I think it is going to involve hiring a professional to do it. And we just need to decide what's the right time, what's the right amount of money. And
I have a similar take. So we have a very exceptionally well-run school. We have a high-performing school. We have done a number of things within the infrastructure and how the school looks, which is its own set of wonderful things for marketing and all that. But I think this is the missing piece for us, and I think we have to make this bet. And like you said, now is the time, and it seems to me that given what we've already invested, the diligence that the administration has done, if we check comparisons and it's about right, and then it's just like, let's go. Now, exactly what we do, we have to figure out that, but I think we kind of have to.
We invested what, over $1 million? If we put 100,000 into this project, I think that's not saying it's too much money. And I think I honestly do, just doing the numbers in my head, and worst case scenario, it's gonna be.
exactly. And if it doesn't work, then we're not in a worse position than we are right now. And if that doesn't solve it, then we know we have a greater problem on our hands. That is of all the factors we already know to be out there: competition, declining birth rates. But we can't not try and say, well, not trying didn't work.
So I want to go back to Jason's question about how long do we do this, right? Danielle and I met with Agenda last week. We met with Becky and Leandra, and they were talking about how it's really important to keep our name out there constant, where people are constantly seeing it, so that when it's time for lottery and registration and all those things, then people are like, that's where I want to go, because they've heard it so many times by that point. And they were saying that it would really take this entire school year. So in terms of like, if we're looking across months of a retainer, we're probably looking into April or May.
So per student on the low end, 7,800, I would say, based on unit value. I'd say times it by 1.1, what I've seen on the 910. If you divide that by 100,000, that's 12.8 students. If you're looking at terms of funding.
If we brought in 12.8 students, we generate 100.
And think about it, if the populations are really declining, you're not necessarily unsuccessful if you bring in 0 new students. You could just have avoided from losing 10 or 15 students. You can't
Right, that's
measure success on how much you gain.
That's true.
Very true.
And carryover's just like 1 million.
Yeah, and it's not a one-time thing with each student either. It's not that amount of money that year. It's a right, you get those students year over year if you do bring more in.
And I know they didn't talk much about the clicks and who came, but we did see an increase in homeschool students.
Yes, we did, and that was one of
their
the,
groups.
Mhm.
We see
Yeah.
that. So that worked.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that are trying homeschooling and failing. Just from like people I know. It seemed like a lot of people like went that route and then they found out it was a lot harder than they thought it would be. So hopefully that's going in our favor.
Uh, Yeah, and so just running some general numbers, you know, if their pricing plan works between 6 and 12,000 a month. If you even figure 10,000 a month, if we had to do that for the next 8 months, that would be 80,000
Plus the 40.
plus the 45. But like I'm wondering is, could you take out 22,000 of the 45? Because this part would actually be located in this part. Like what I'm wondering is this pricing for the web page, is that the only thing we're doing for you is web page? Here you go, 45,000. But if they're doing a marketing plan and a web page for us at the same time, does some of this get put into some of this? I mean, it would be my guess. So you figured if we did 8 months at 10 grand a month plus 45, that'd be 125. You know, so right about 100 grand. Yeah, that's guaranteed. Mhm.
And they sounded flexible in how they develop pricing. Some of the things you're advertising in month 1, 2, and 3
Right.
is a little bit more of a one, like how to set up your testimonials and all that. After that, we just want you to keep
Keep your name out.
texting, advertising, working, we want you to do social media content. I know Carla, my wife, she was one with her work. I think hers was 2,000 a month, so not that much.
I do know that they have a huge campaign going on with New Mexico Tech. And that's how I came to know this company was through Carlos.
Yeah.
And because he's worked with them quite a bit. I know, what Carlos shared with me is that Becky does a lot of the work with the schools, and that's kind of her thing.
I think it would be productive for us to have Christy reach back out to them, say the board is interested. They would like, to the extent possible, a little firmer pricing estimate. We realize it's still very much an estimate, but you know, ask some of the questions like, if they're doing a retainer with you, does that negate some of these things in this phase? But yeah, they would like a ballpark figure as to what it would cost to redo the website and have the marketing efforts go along with it for the next 8 months, you know. And say, can you guys ballpark that for us? And then, because if we're gonna do it, we better do it, you know, and we better not let this slip down too many agendas. All right, well then, I don't think we need to take action today as far as retention, but I think our action is that direction. Any further discussion on marketing? All right, then.
Hey, Aaron, just a quick question, just because some of this stuff can drag out. Would there be any value in allowing Christy to, you know, go through that process? Like, hey, here's what we would like to do, but authorizing her to spend that money if she gets the quote back so that they could start on a quicker time frame, or do you think that we have time?
I think given the amount of money, it would be financially prudent of us to have a little bit more information and not put that on Christie, you know, not make her have to make that decision by herself. If she's, you know, you can get them and they can move quickly. I know we've had a lot of meetings recently, but I'd be more than happy to do a special one line item agenda of a special meeting. But I think to be fair to her and diligent in our fiscal responsibilities, we should probably make the final decision.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I was just thinking, I didn't know if the retainer, so the retainer's over you set it over a certain time frame in the contract. It's we're gonna do 8 months and you commit to that, or is it a month-to-month thing, or how do they do those retainers?
That's a question I wanted to ask, but I got the sense from them that it's quite flexible. Like they're not gonna say, you agreed to this retainer and you're trying to back out 4 months later, so we're going to sue you for the other 4 months.
Outright said that.
Yeah, that it was a flexible thing.
my particular sense of urgency is as soon as we feel that we're ready to get moving, we gotta move, because the different things they need to do leading up to next spring, when families start making decisions, we gotta get with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they figure they gotta build a whole website. They have to film videos. They have to, yeah. Mhm. So yeah, I mean, if they're ready to move, Christie, this isn't the only thing on your calendar, but if they're ready to move and you need a special meeting from us to approve. But it's the beauty of special meetings. We can do them all by Zoom, you know, one item, let's fit them in a lot of places.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, action on revision of 2026-2027 academic calendar.
This is gonna be really quick and easy. So if you take a look at April 23rd, we designated that as a snow day. We can't have that as a snow day because if it really did become a snow day, we would have a 5-day week, which would take away all of our extended learning time programming money. So we need to remove the snow day from the calendar, not have a snow day. It's nice if we have it built in, so if something happens, we know where to plug it in. But essentially, how we've handled some of this in the past, if we have a 2-hour delay, then we extend a half day by 2 hours. And we build it in that way. We would also just have to, we don't have any other shorter weeks to work with in the school year. So if there's a
June.
snow day, we're going into June. Yeah.
The kids will love it.
But I think.
So you had fun in December.
But that, but Laura's budget analyst pointed that out and we were like, yeah, we don't want that on there. So let's get it out of there.
Then we're gonna have snow days this year. I'm not saying that just from the snowboarders, but we're shooting, we're gonna have. snow.
All right, well,
And
I'll,
we want
I'll
that.
take
We
your
need
word
water
on
in the
that.
Southwest. We'll take it.
If we take the snow day out, then I guarantee
It'll happen.
we'll have a snow day.
There you go.
Then I'm for it. All right, well then, can I have a motion to adopt the revised 2026-2027 calendar to remove the April 23rd snow day?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor? Dom,
I
Pat,
Aye.
Fabian,
Aye.
Aaron, aye. None opposed, motion carries. All right, so now we are on discussion and possible action on posting AKCS charter contract. All right, so Miss Christie came to me and it was actually a parent concern, right? That brought this up, that said, hey, I wanted to know more about your charter, and I went to your website and looked for it and I couldn't find it. And so we've never posted our charter on there. And Ms. Chris and I talked about it, and we're a public institution. I can't think of one reason not to put it on there. dense, not super easy to read, but I think if somebody wants to spend the time to go through it, by all means, they should be able to do that. So I personally don't have any issue doing it, but I figure that kind of thing is worthy of a board discussion and a board decision. Does anybody have any concerns with posting our charter on our website?
Nope.
I think transparency is a good thing.
I agree.
You know, it's not the document with our revamped website that I would have a prospective parent land on. Born right off the website, but I think it should be available for anybody that wants to find. All right, well then in that case, can I have a motion to approve posting of the AKCS charter contract on our website?
So moved.
And can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Tom,
Aye.
Fabian,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Aaron, aye. Motion carries. All right. Next item of business is discussion and action on approval of ICIP resolution.
All right, I'm gonna let Laura talk about this one, because Laura has a little better sense of how all this ties together.
Yeah, so you know how annually Christy works with the foundation and they apply to legislation for capital appropriation monies to do big kind of construction projects and improvements around the school. They're changing the process for anyone who has never done this before. There were other public entities doing ICIP, but because there's so much money sitting on the table and they're having a lot of entities not spending the money within the time frame, they're mandating everyone do this process. So ICIP is Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan. So what they're wanting us to do, this is actually due August 20th of this year, is they're wanting you to submit now online what you're trying to apply for, how much money, time frame you're going to spend it down in, and you're doing it all through an online system with a much earlier due date. I think we used to do this by November, and now it's actually supposed to be July 31st, but because the schools were all really overwhelmed by this change and it was so fast, we asked for extended time, and they did. They gave us till August 28th to submit this. But now another piece of it is we need approval to apply for whatever capital appropriation funds and projects that the foundation and Christie have been looking at.
So I did meet with the foundation sometime this summer. We can't bring, is that it? It seems like an eternity ago, but okay. And we did talk about what would we like to apply for? And so I don't know if you all remember, but we did at one point a couple of years ago talk about a new gym and trying to get apply for funding so that we could build a gym and acquire land for it. And so that has come back up. And so one of the proposals is to apply for the funding to be able to have a gym. And then luckily we have the quote from the architect still with all of the numbers that go along with that. If I remember correctly, it was like 14 million, if I remember correctly. And then the other proposal, we went through our capital needs assessment and looked at what were some of the things that came out of our last capital needs assessment in terms of improvements that are needed for the school. And we want to roll those items into this. And so that would include things like a new fire suppression system for the annex, because it is it's time. That is one of the big ticket items that came up in our last capital needs assessment. A lot of the items that were in that last assessment have already been completed, like asphalt in the parking on the parking lot. A lot of things have already been taken care of, but there were still some others that hadn't, and I'm not recalling what else came up from that. I can pull it up really quickly to go through that and take a look at it. I know that the foundation they are working on getting Laura all of the information for the ICIP application in terms of, because it's like it's like a 12-page document now. It's much more in-depth than it ever has been in terms of how we apply for capital appropriations. But I do think that obviously we want to still be able to apply for funding, so we really would like for you all to approve that because it's, you know, without this step, we're not going to be able to apply this year.
Is there any, and this is obviously we're going to approve you asking for money, at least from my perspective, I will. But is there any concern about asking for a $14 million gym? Will this make toss us to the side? And do you see any problem with asking for a $14 million gym and then all the other things that we have to do?
I think the this year was 1 million. I don't think it was higher than that. So you
Right.
can always ask.
Yeah.
Right, you can ask, and then they can also grant some
Yes.
money towards it, right? So it could be that we get 500,000 and maybe that pays for some kind of initial planning.
Yeah.
Or,
And
you know,
honestly, if they see we spend it quickly.
that's right.
They're wanting to push the money out, so they do want to see things being spent.
Yeah.
Faster.
And isn't this process not necessarily the funding request as much as like a 5-year, this is what they talked about at the audit committee, right?
Yes, it's the 4-year.
4-year plan, and so this is basically you kind of put your wish list, and you can't be considered for funding if it wasn't on your plan, but this allows them to prioritize the state plan. So even if we have wish list kind of ideas on here, that's not us asking for the funding right then and there, right?
Right. They look at all the submissions and they decide from there.
But it has to be approved by this body before you turn it in next Friday, right?
Yeah, and so the other items that were on our capital needs assessment that have not been done yet are replacing the exterior lights and the exterior doors at the annex. So a lot of work at the annex.
Okay, well, I noticed the language here is ICIP resolution. Do we need to draft up some kind of resolution, or is it enough for us to?
We have the letter. There was an example letter with a packet.
Yeah, see,
I don't know if I can find it quickly, but I'll try.
Laura's done all the trainings
Yeah.
and Carlos knows all the information. And so I'm writing coattails right now. I'm going to be really honest.
That's what you have to do as a leader. You gotta delegate. Coattail writing is your job.
It would seem even if you weren't ready for the big one, the 14 million, that's one thing they said at the meeting. They were tired of people asking for money and never even starting a project.
Yes.
You put some of these lower hanging fruits on and say, we will spend it all this year or next year or whenever
Right.
it is. And you execute on that, your
Mhm.
plan would probably do a lot more.
Exactly.
Well, we could say, see what we did with $1 million in the last 9 months.
Well, and we have
We're-
never left any capital money on the table. We've
Yeah.
always been hit.
We're spenders.
They, I swear, I don't think I'm making up this number. I think they said there's $3
Yes.
billion sitting there.
Yes.
Well, oil and gas has been going nuts. I
And
mean,
it's not.
if you filled up your car, you know that.
Yeah.
And that's where our revenue comes from.
Oh, and the concrete, that was the other one that we rolled into this because throughout the building, the concrete floors are starting to deteriorate, and in some places there are really large, significant cracks and holes that are a bit of a safety issue. I mean, obviously we've patched what we can, but it's getting to the point that patching isn't really working. They're not too bad in here, but there's some areas where we're talking 8 inches long by 4 inches wide and you know, good.
Heel in there.
Exactly.
So do you want, look, the temple's interesting. Who do you want me to send it to right now?
Aaron.
You can send it to my AKCS account.
And this is what was given. even
Unless you
when-
want to say, I don't know, do you want Fabian to screen share it so
That's
everybody
what
can
it
see it?
was.
Yeah,
Let's do
that's
that.
probably even better.
Yeah.
Good call.
And this came from, I'll forward it to you, Christy. It's a lot of resources from PCSNM also did one for schools specifically.
Oh, okay.
have to go from resolution template, but I'm sure. we can-
That $14 million, does that include the land? Or is it just the building?
Just the building. And let me pull up the exact number for you, because I was just trying to remember off the top of my head. Anna, Danielle, if you guys remember, let me know.
14.
Does that sound right?
Uh-huh. I just remember it being a lot.
Oh, you have it. You have that email.
Did you have a prospective place? I know you had looked into building a gym before to purchase land, or were you thinking about something to do with, like, I don't know, the annex or some building that you already had?
Right, so we've talked about a couple different things with the foundation. We have talked about using the land where the annex is currently and possibly demolishing the annex and building a gym in place of it with some classrooms, like on the second story or around the outskirts of it. We've also looked at nearby land, and there is currently land available just to the south and east of the school. There's a building over there that caught on fire several years ago now, and that is for sale, but that also would be demolishing that building in order to be able to access the land. So, and I forget how much the land is.
It was a lot.
Yeah, I don't remember how much the building and the land is, but then you have to take into, so regardless, we would have to look at tearing something down in order to have enough space to build a gym.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, I don't think they've updated this for like school friendly, as you can see at the top. Those are the ones I think have been doing ICIP forever. But this is the template that's on the DFA website.
And it was 14 million. I just pulled it up, and that's construction cost, so that's not land.
All right, and are we working on the FY 2028 through 32 infrastructure capital improvement plan?
Yes.
All right, here would be my suggestion. Is that the board approves a resolution in this language. We take out number 3 because we don't have a resolution that this would supersede. Am I right about that? That we take out number 3 and we just say that everywhere it says county, municipality, tribal government, special district, it says Ellis King Community School. And this doesn't have to have amounts. This just says we're behind the idea of this plan. All right. All right, well, so we don't have to sit here and draft this tonight. Are you guys comfortable with us approving a 2020, how about it? May I have a motion to approve a 2028 through 2032 infrastructural capital improvement plan resolution in the form being presented to us by Fabian right now?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That was Dominic, Fabian,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Aaron, aye. Seeing none opposed, motion carries.
Laura, are you able to make the changes to that template that Aaron said? Maybe we can get that printed out to get it signed.
I think we have a Word version on the website.
Excellent.
Who all needs to
And you
sign?
have to scrap that 3 if it says any superseding if there was none.
Yes.
Just put any in there. I'm looking and this is very standardized template.
It looks like just Aaron has to sign.
Okay.
Oh, wait, who was that down there? Oh,
I think you need
You
to
could
change
attest.
that, like the mayor, county commission chair on both places to the
Governing council
governing
president.
council.
mhm.
And then under the attestation part, you can make that Miss Christie. Because what you can see is that one is the leader of the entity doing it. And then the next is somebody else helping execute the government,
So
the governmental task.
do you want me to do that now, or do you want to sit together?
You can get started on it and then I'm happy to help make any revisions and sign it before I leave.
You're good.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, let's not leave any opportunity to get some money on the table.
That's right.
All right, well, now I think we will go into executive session on the limited personnel matter. Do we need to,
Right, thanks, Jason.
do we need to do it on 8.7 matters or only on personnel matters? I guess really it's the same thing. In this case. No, you don't need to. Nobody remaining needs to leave. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn into executive session? Into executive session to discuss matters related to pending and threatening litigation and or personnel matters.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, Dom,
Aye.
Fabian,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Aaron, aye. Motion carries.